Hey y'all, thanks so much for tuning back in with us again this week. So today we are going to talk about how not to work on your wedding day. So this is the one day that you should absolutely not have to lift a finger. You should just get to sit back, relax, hang out. Whether you have hired a day of coordinator or not, this is a video that you're going to want to watch to make sure that you don't have to do anything on your special day. So keep watching and we are going to talk about who should be doing what. So, the biggest part about working on your wedding day is actually the setup and the takedown of the decor and the venue and the whole thing. So, I actually wrote down a whole list of points that I want to go over with you today just because this video hits so close to home with me. I was a DIY bride, so I actually made all my centerpieces, like I kid you not, made my centerpieces. I actually had a friend of mine cut down a tree and make the wood slices that I used as my centerpieces on a table. So I was really DIY. And it was great. I mean, it helped me save money, but the trade-off for that is who's gonna set it all up. So that's something that I didn't really think about when I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be a DIY bride. That sounds like so much fun. I wanna make my centerpieces. I wanna make my guest book. And it was really fun. But then the day of the wedding comes and you're like, oh, I only have the venue for this many hours to get set up. Well, I have to get hair and makeup done and do pictures, so who's going to be setting all that up? So that's a big thing to keep in mind if you are going to DIY. So what it boils down to in the long run is going to be you're either going to have to spend extra time or extra money. So if you have friends and family help with the setup and the takedown of decor, they are not trained in doing this. Whether they've helped at weddings before or not, they have not done the level and the quality and the quantity of weddings that wedding professionals have done. So while their hearts are in the absolute right place, and that is so sweet and so nice of family and friends to want to help, please keep in mind it will take them much longer to set things up and take things down than an actual wedding professional. So, do you want to spend more time or more money? And in some situations, it's actually going to become the same thing, time and money, because time costs money. So, you're probably thinking, well, if all I have are centerpieces to set up, that's not going to take very long. Have you thought about centerpieces? How many objects are going into each centerpiece? Have you thought about plates? Have you thought about napkins, silverware, glasses? If you're bringing your own alcohol to the venue, who's setting up the bar? Who's putting it in the cooler? Who's setting out the ice chest? Who's displaying your beer koozies onto the bar? If you are having additional lighting to the venue, like I know some couples want to do like string lights or drapery on a ceremony arch, anything like that, who's setting all that up, and then who's taking it down at the end of the night? What about a photo booth? I've had a lot of brides do their own photo booth backdrop, and it turns out super cute, but who's going to be setting that up? Signs. So if you make one of those cute signs that says like, pick a seat, not a side, where like all family wants the knot is tied, you know, there's a million things like that, or a bar sign. Who's going to set up all these signs around the venue? Not all venues include tables, chairs, and linen. Who's rolling out these tables? Who's putting the certain number of chairs per table? Who's putting linen on the table? The linen has to go on the table, and the tables and chairs have to get set up before the centerpieces can go on these things. I could go on forever, but I think you get the point. There's a lot of setup that goes into the day of, and you're probably like, well, I have tons of friends and family that can help me. Well, that's great, but do you have certain things that you want to go in certain places? How do you expect them to know that? That's going to cause an issue. And then they're going to be coming to you on the day of the wedding, knocking on the door while you're getting hair and makeup done, saying, hey, Amy, where do you want this sign to go? Okay, where do you want this picture to go? Okay, where do you want this garland to go? Do you want somebody knocking on your door every 5 minutes saying, where should this go? Where should that go? What is this supposed to look like? Is this right? No, that's going to get super annoying. And then you're eventually going to be like, I'll just come out there and do it myself. And that's not how it should be. Bridesmaids and groomsmen are not good people to choose for setup decor. The reason is because this is a day of celebration. You have asked these people to attend and celebrate with you. This is something that you have asked them to do. If they've purchased wedding gowns or rented tux, this is something they've already spent money on. Attending bachelorette parties, bachelor parties, they've probably already spent a lot of money on attending and being a part of your wedding, which they are happy to do because they love you. But you should not ask them to do manual labor at your wedding. Paying money is one thing, doing manual labor is another. It's kind of excessive to expect them to do all this stuff for you. And some people are happy to do it, and that's awesome and that's great, but just don't expect them to. That's a little bit much. Also, think about rentals. So even if you're like, okay, well, I'm getting all my centerpieces delivered from this company or this florist. Are they paid for delivery or are they paid for setup? Those are two very different things. So look at your contract right now. Did you pay for delivery or did you pay for setup? Because I guarantee half of you probably think that you have setup included and you don't. And you're gonna be very disappointed on the day of when all they do is drop off on the porch and then leave. Make sure that if you don't have people setting up for you, that you are paying extra money, keyword there, it will cost extra, to the rental staff to do the setup. There's a lot of setup that goes into the day of, and you can't just have, let me make this clear, you can't just have a day of coordinator do all of your decor setup and take down for you. One person doing an entire wedding setup and takedown is not possible. It cannot happen. And if it does happen, then you're gonna have to give her like 6 hours of setup time and like 3 hours of breakdown time. And that's on a very, very minimal decor setup. You need more help than that one person. So if she has a team, that's great. If she doesn't, then provide help for her. But make sure that you are allowing plenty of time for this to happen. Don't purchase the venue's minimum hour package and then expect to have an all-day rental or have as much decor set up as an all-day rental would have. These are very big things to think about in planning your wedding. You have to have the time to allow for extra decor setup. And trust me, the setup always takes longer than you think it's gonna take. Even now, I've seen so many weddings and they are cutting it like by a fine line. Like guests are walking in the building and they're still setting up because they thought they could get it all done in a certain amount of time and they didn't. So make sure you're allowing extra time to happen. And then back to the rentals. So we talked about them like dropping them off and setting them up and everything. You also need to make sure the rental company is gonna pick up. So are they gonna pick up the same night or can they pick up the next day? You have to ask the venue. If they pick up the same night, you're probably gonna actually have to pay an extra fee. So make sure you're asking that question, and then also asking how the rentals have to be returned. So most rentals like plates and silverware and all that have to be returned cleaned. Like they don't have to be like scrubbed clean, but like at least rinsed out, not with like food all over them. So who's doing that? And then on top of that, who's bussing your tables? So if you have plates sitting out there or glasses or silverware or napkins, who's collecting all these napkins at the end of the night? Who's collecting all the linen at the end of the night? Who's returning those to that vendor, to the linen vendor? Who's returning the plates? Who's returning all this stuff? So I get DIY. It's totally something that's doable. But these are just things to keep in mind if you are doing it yourself. Be sure to remember, you still have to have someone bussing your tables, who's returning all these plates, who's washing the dishes. Do you really want your mom in the kitchen on the day of your wedding washing dishes instead of seeing your first dance or instead of seeing you cut the cake? I really wouldn't. I'd want my mom to be a part of it. I mean, especially if they paid for the whole thing. I don't want to make them work and pay for it. That's not really nice. So along with the busing, who is going to be taking out the trash? So that's another big thing to think about. If you hire a catering company, make sure that you are paying them to also remove the trash from the venue if the venue does not take care of it. Most venues require that you have the trash taken out to a dumpster they'll have on property for you or at least placed somewhere. So make sure that the catering company already knows that that is going to be designated to them, because if they don't do it, then you have to do it. And you really don't want to be carrying a trash bag in a white wedding dress. Trust me, that would not go good. So make sure all of these people are knowing what's expected of them. Vendors don't just automatically know these things. You have to say it, and you're going to have to pay extra, or you're going to have somebody designated to do it that's a family friend. And I'm not going to lie, they might get a little frustrated and irritated. A lot of times I see couples ask like the bridesmaids and groomsmen to stay behind after the wedding and do the pickup. So those people are like bussing tables, taking out the trash. They're putting all the decor back in boxes and then loading all that back into the vehicle. Let me tell you, it's been a long day. Your bridesmaids and groomsmen are extra tired because they've been in pictures, they've been in the toast, they've had attention on them. Everything has just kind of worn them out. So at the end of the night, they are usually not much help. I hate to tell you that, but it's true. They usually are so tired, they just want to leave. And honestly, I usually see half of them end up leaving and just saying, I'm too tired, I'm not going to do it, you figure it out. And then they leave the other ones to handle it. So that's not really fair either, especially if they're drunk. So a drunk groomsman trying to put your mason jars back in a box and put them in a car, you're gonna end up with a box of broken mason jars every time, promise. So make sure that you have reliable people doing your decor like pack up at the end of the night. Also, if you break rentals, you are liable for purchasing them. So be sure to keep that in mind whenever you're having people cleaning the rental items. They have to be delicate with those. Okay, so I have raised a lot of questions and a lot of concerns and a lot of problems with this video. So you're probably freaking out right now and you're like, oh my gosh, this is a lot of information, a lot of horrible things. Why in the world should I even have a wedding? What do I do? You make it sound horrible. I can fix it. Let me tell you how to fix it. So what you're gonna wanna do is be super, super organized. I always tell my couples, take a picture of an example centerpiece. Put it together at home. It doesn't matter what kind of table you set it on, just somewhere at home. It can be on the floor, anything. Put your centerpiece out there, put every element that goes in your centerpiece together, take a picture. Put your dessert table together with, I want this object here, this one here. Put it together. Obviously you won't have a cake or the dessert there, but if there's like stands or something, put them in the order you want them to be in and take a picture. And then label, I want my cake to go on this tier. I want the little mini pies to go on this tier. I want the cupcakes to go on this tier. You're gonna wanna take pictures of how you want everything to look and label it. That way the day of, whoever is doing your decor setup, whether it be a professional or family or friends, whoever you have doing it, you will hand them these boxes and say, here's this box, here's the list of how it goes. Here's this box, here's the list of how it goes. And when you do that, you're gonna have people who can follow those instructions and be like, oh, this is how she wants it to look. I don't need to go bother her. I can leave her alone and do it myself. So be super, super organized and make those boxes. Label everything. I don't care if you think it's an overkill, do it because it's gonna help you on the day of. Trust me. And the people who are doing the setup will be so thankful to have those instructions because it really, really will help take the pressure off of them instead of being like, oh, I hope I'm doing this right. What if she gets mad at me? What if this isn't right? They're gonna know it's right and then they're gonna feel better about it. So that's gonna be great. Just make sure you're super organized. So I know that it's gonna cost extra money, but really honestly, hiring professional staff is really the best way to go other than hiring friends and family to do this. If you don't have it in your budget, I understand where you're coming from. I didn't either. So you can totally have friends and family do stuff, but you should absolutely give them some kind of thank you gift or just something. And don't ask like your parents to do things. That's just kind of like they really, really need to be involved in that moment. And you don't need to do anything. I've had brides go down there and try and set up tables themselves. And I'm like, no, honey, like this is the one day. Like, no, go sit down, be pampered, relax. Don't do stuff on your wedding day. You have to relax. It's a stressful day. This is an important day. So really, I know it costs extra money, but please, please, please hire a coordinator. Hire a coordinator's team. I know if she has extra people, it might cost a little extra. it's worth it. Truly, truly worth it. Hire a great catering company and make sure that you are paying them to stay all night and bust those tables and take out the trash. Make sure that your bar staff, ask them, say, hey, if we supply the drinks, will y'all still do the setup of the bar? Or do you require it to already be set up upon your arrival? Ask that question. Make sure that you are figuring all these things out at least a week before the wedding, because you want everyone to be on the same page. You don't want to show up and be like, oh, my Uncle Ed is setting up the centerpieces, but Uncle Ed got told 3 months ago he was setting up centerpieces and now he doesn't remember because no one's told him recently. You have to follow up with people and make sure they're all on the same page about things. That's why having a month of coordinator is going to be a really big help, because she will follow up with everyone during that month and ensure that everyone is on the same page. Also, by hiring professionals, you're going to ensure that everything does get done in time and within those time constraints. I know a lot of venues will charge you a late fee if you stay on their property after your hours have ended. So if you have family and friends who have been drinking or are tired and they're being a little bit slow to pack everything up, then you're probably going to run over your time frame and be charged a late fee. Whereas if you would have just spent that same money on professionals, they would have packed up and brought the proper amount of staff to have everything out on time. So make sure that you are communicating all these things with your vendors. I know this video was a lot of information and that it was probably a little bit stressful. I just wanted to share with you these concerns that I had with my wedding, so that way you are being well educated and informed to make these decisions so that your wedding day can go as smooth as possible. Thank y'all so much for watching. I really hope this video helped y'all out. I know that it was a lot of information. I really just want to help educate you and so you can make the best decisions for your wedding day. I know that I made a lot of mistakes with mine and things that I wish I could redo. So I really just want to share with you all this information so that way you're checking everything off your list and being like, oh, she makes a good point, I didn't think about that, or oh, that makes a good point, I didn't think about that. So I really want to help you be educated and make well-informed decisions. As always, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel, and I hope to see y'all next week.